Welcome back, everybody, on Hot Mic. Again, a reminder, we're in the midst of tournament season, and our next ones up for the state basketball tournaments are the State A girls and the State B girls. Coverage begins on Thursday from both Minot and Jamestown. You see the lineup of games. This is for the State A, which will be played at the Minot State Dome. You'll see the quarterfinals on Extra beginning Thursday at 1. Championship game comes up 5 o'clock Saturday night on WDAY. The Class B is in Jamestown for the second year in a row. That begins on Thursday as well, 1 o'clock on WDAY, with the championship Saturday night, 8 o'clock on WDAY. Looking forward to that. The big news yesterday locally, not just the Dragon basketball team winning, was also out of Concordia, where the Minnesota Vikings and Concordia announced that they will be sponsoring a women's flag football team beginning this spring for a 6-week run with 6 teams playing beginning in April. It's great to have Rachel Bergeson back with us, Concordia Athletic Director, to give us the lowdown on how all this came about. I know women's flag football has certainly gained traction in the last 6 months, where I think there's over 500 NCAA schools that want to do something with it. How did this come about? Give us the lowdown, how Concordia paired up with the Vikings.
Yeah, so it all started this summer when we were at the Vikings training camp, and there was a lot of conversation around women's flag football and the support that the Minnesota Vikings were willing to give the sport to get it up and running. And it certainly piqued our interest. And so we came back to campus and started talking about it, and a little bit figuring out what the interest level would be on our campus, but we didn't want to dive too much into that yet unless we knew it was maybe more of a for sure thing. But we joined their list of schools that wanted to be on the emails and the conference calls. So we had lots of emails and lots of calls, and there started to be some momentum, especially with the 6 schools that have started or wanted to join. And we had an interest meeting on our campus with 24 students. And so we thought, let's give it a go this spring. And so it moved really fast, but really it could move fast because of the support from the Vikings. Yeah. So here we are, and we're excited to be one of the first.
When you got wind that either you were picked or they wanted to choose Concordia, what were the emotions on that? Like, okay, now it's real?
Yes. Yeah. Oh boy, we have some work to do, and I have some rules to learn. I mean, I did hire a coach, so I didn't have to learn everything. But yeah, it did become real. We had to move really, really fast. But also really exciting. And I think it's the first time I've ever heard this, Dom. You'll laugh at this. I don't hear this from our conference colleagues, but they like our geographical location. And that is because we are bordering North Dakota, and to try to get some traction in the state of North Dakota. And so I think they're hoping that if we can get something up and running, what kinds of things can we do on our campus to generate some excitement with high school kids, middle school kids from the state of North Dakota too. Because I know, North Dakota doesn't have an NFL team. And so the Vikings would love to get into that neck of the woods too. Because I know the Bears have been really influential in Illinois, and the Eagles have been really influential in Philadelphia. And of course, now the Vikings have been really influential in Minnesota.
All right. So you find out this is going to happen. Did you have a coach in mind? Did you have to put out like a search list? How did that all come about to find a coach?
Well, so this is also interesting. I mean, it's funny because every time I come to work, I'm like, oh, my job is really interesting. I mean, that you just get new things every day. So our former women's soccer coach was scheduled to be our flag football coach. Well, she took a job back home out east. So she was our women's flag football coach for about 7 days and then left. And we're super excited for her as she moved back home. But that meant I was searching for a head women's soccer coach, but also now a flag football coach. But you just kind of reach out to connections. And I had recently had lunch with a fairly recent grad who was a former women's soccer goalie for us, Bree Nelson. And we started talking a little bit about her future career path. And So it begged the question for me. I wonder if this would be a fit for her.
Mm.
And so I asked her, and she was, of course, very excited. And she was scheduled to go to Europe right after our conversation. And so I think she spent her plane ride watching videos of flag football practice drills and reading the rule book. So she is all caught up to speed.
Wow. So for people that don't know, Rachel, so how many people are on the field? Where do you find a team? Like, how have you done that now over the last little bit?
Yeah, so we took our interest meeting list of 24 and we've reached back out and said, this is the for sure thing. Here are the dates of competition. Here are the dates of practice. Um, and we've gotten it down to 18, not intentionally. We would gladly take 24, but a
Yeah.
few of them said, oh, those dates are not going to work. And some of them are multi-sport athletes, which is wonderful. So we're at 18 right now. Um, so yeah, it was really just, it was word of mouth. We sent an email all through campus. So we have a mixture of multi-sport athletes, but we've also landed some flag football athletes that are not in another sport. So there are some new
Okay.
faces for our department, which is really fun. Um, and yeah, I don't know how much all of them know yet about flag football, but we'll find out soon. We'll have 3 weeks of practice before we play. And then we are going to start with a 5-on-5 format.
Okay.
You can do a 7-on-7 format, but all of the institutions that are starting this spring, we felt 5-on-5 was a good place to start just so that we were sure we could get the games played.
I know when last we talked was about the renovations going on at the Jake, and I know you and I talked about lacrosse. I know you've been trying to get new programs. Was this one high on the radar, or was this one kind of maybe fell in your lap on flag football?
Well, I will say it was a little bit on our radar, only because there had been some conversation at previous NCAA events that I'd been at.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised to see this come up as an emerging sport for women somewhat soon. I mean, they certainly haven't given us a timeline, but the conversation is there and the interest level seems to be there. Um, but of course, this one had a little bit more traction because it was something that we felt we could get up and running right away. But that doesn't necessarily mean lacrosse or anything else would be off the table. The women's flag football felt like some low hanging fruit, and we
Yeah.
wanted to be, if we were going to start it and see teams in our league or schools around us, we certainly wanted to be a part of it too.
So the other schools is Augustana, Gustavus, Bethel, Northwestern out of St. Paul, and Wisconsin Stout are joining Concordia. So you're going to do this here in April. Is it almost a trial run to say, okay, we like it, we're gonna keep this going forward?
Yeah, I would say trial run could be a good word for it. I
Okay.
mean, certainly we'd love to continue doing it long term. We want to have the interest and ability, but our intention would be that it goes well and we can keep it going. I think it'll be really fun to see Cobber flag football shirts
Yeah.
walking around camp. I never thought I'd see that when I first took this job. So it is really fun to see something different and exciting.
I was going to say, so this is going to come with a full branding, I imagine, of everything else you have, right? With Concordia Athletics, that's going to be embraced just like the other teams that you have.
Yes, we're following a similar plan that we did when we added Clay Target.
Okay.
And so they will follow our same brand guide, even though it's not an NCAA sponsored sport, but neither was Clay Target. And so we will follow the same brand guide because we want them to be one of us.
Just to be out in front of this, how important was that to you? Like, this is it's certainly an emerging sport. We want to be on the cutting edge. Was that important to you?
Yes, I mean, first of all, Dom, I really like to win and be first in lots of things, but so that's my number one answer. But my second answer would be, I was looking through some old files, and it was back when Dr. Armin People was the athletic director, and they were considering adding women's hockey at the time. So this would have been in the early 90s that these documents started to pop up. And one of the things that I read in there was the importance of being first and being in that first group, that pioneer group of starting something so you can develop your pipelines. It's really important to develop a really successful program. And so that was another reason where I felt like we need to be first. We need to be in this first wave.
last thing before I let you go, this is a big week because obviously you got the press conference tomorrow, but you also, as a hockey mom, your son Titan is on the Spud hockey team. What are the wave of emotions this week? This is a big deal, and then there's a rather large hockey game Thursday night.
There is a rather large hockey game, and that it's really fun. I'm really excited I can be there. My kids have never been able to say that my mom is at every one of our games, and that was a topic of conversation when I took this job, and that doesn't seem to bother them. But I'm glad I get to be there for the big ones. So I do get to be there. But Titan's pretty even keel, so he's in prep mode now. So yep.
How about for you for game? Can you I know your dad can't be around anybody. Can you be around, or you got to sit by yourself?
I can be around. I'm just really selective, Dom. It's real selective as who I can be around.
Don't talk to me then, right? That's it. I'm watching the game. I'm not chatting.
Yeah, and that's a little bit. Yep, I don't need a play-by-play, but I just want to watch my kid and his teammates. But so I can be around a few people, but I don't know that we'll be able to find my dad in the XL.
Yeah, right. Set. Yeah, exactly. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for giving us time. We'll check in again once things get closer to happening. Okay.
Great. Thanks so much, Tom.
Rachel Bergeson joining us, Concordia Athletic Director. Again, Cobber Flag Football is coming starting next month. One of 6 schools will be launching that as part of the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikes will hold an official presser tomorrow with the championship to be played at the TCO Performance Center coming up on April the 26th. We're due for a break. We'll take one now. We come back. Mike McFeely will join us. Get a look at those Dragons getting ready for the NSIC Tournament Championship game tonight. That much more. We come back after this.